Joining us this morning, Matt, is Garrett Noonan from Broadford and Limerick. Gave so much service to both his club and county over the years. Garrett, how are you keeping this morning?
Good, Jack. How are things?
Good.
How you got it?
Good, Matt. No fear, no.
Thanks a million for coming on and joining us this morning. A really illustrious career between club and county. We'll start with the county, and you played for Limerick for, I suppose, about 15 or 16 years overall. What was your overriding experience of representing your county?
Sure, it's brilliant, Jack. It's great to get the opportunity to compete at that level, and I suppose to challenge yourself to be the best that you can be. Yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think my first year on the panel was 2006, and I was there with Mickey Ned O'Sullivan, John Bruder, Billy Lee, but all brilliant people to be involved with. You learn so much along the way. But yeah, really enjoyable experience. I enjoyed every minute of it. And I suppose at the time it's kind of hard to enjoy it because it kind of consumes you, and you're so kind of, I suppose, caught up in the day-to-day running of everything, and you go from training session to training session, game to game, and it's kind of hard to, I suppose, step back and kind of really fully appreciate what it's all about. It's only when it's over that you kind of look back and you say, yeah, that was brilliant, and I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Yeah, and I suppose we'll get into the current situation in a minute, but you can probably relate to where the boys are at the moment after experienced relegation, following, ups and downs that, you played in Division 1 and 2 and obviously played in Division 3 and 4 as well, that it was a roller coaster time, your 15 years in the panel.
Yeah, like I suppose when I started out, we were in Division 1 and we were competing with the likes of Cork and Kerry, Tyrone, Dublin, Donegal, those teams. And then I suppose we experienced the other side of the coin as well, where we played a lot of Division 4 football for a while, and it was about rebuilding then at that stage and trying to get back up out of those divisions, which wasn't easy. And there was, I suppose, during all that time, then there was a transition of players and a turnover of players, which made it all the more difficult. But yeah, like it takes quite a while for the thing to kind of to come back around again, and it takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment from people, from everybody to buy into it and to get back to the top level again, and I suppose that's kind of the trajectory the team has been on for the last number of years, is trying to get back to competing at the top level.
And if you were to give some advice from your experience of, climbing up the ladder, what would it be? Is it kind of just patience and trust in what you're doing?
It is, yeah, both of those, but I think it's commitment. Like, I suppose the one thing that has to be there is you have to be committed to it. You have to be committed to every aspect of it. It's not just about turning up for training on a Tuesday or Thursday night. It's everything that goes with it, both off the field, your diet, your nutrition, your sleep patterns, and I suppose everything revolves around that. And that's what I would have found over the years, like that you just get into I suppose, a routine of doing all those things and doing things correctly, because it's part and parcel, and what comes with intercounty commitment, and that's what's required, But that would be the one bit of advice I would give. It's, you have to be committed to it.
Yeah, and you've obviously seen a share of the games this year. The results aside, results are pretty negative. Was there anything you saw, improvements in the side or positives that they can take into the Munster Championship?
Yeah, I suppose, look, Division 2 was always going to be a very, very difficult place to be. I suppose with the team going in, they were going to be competing with teams that the top teams in the country. It was always going to be a difficult place to be. Then you had a new management team coming in place. They were trying to find their feet, get to know players, etc. So you had that added difficulty thrown into the mix as well. So it was always going to be a tough task for the lads. But I've seen a couple of the games. I was in Innis last Sunday. The second half was encouraging enough in spells. First half struggled maybe, and I suppose, look, you have to bear in mind as well that it was a game, I suppose, that was a dead rubber as such for both teams, So you have to bear that in mind as well. But look, there's new lads on the panel. They're in there looking to take their opportunity. So look, like, I would see that as an encouragement. It's good to see those new faces, lads eager to play for the county. So it's good to see that. Yeah. So, like, look, fingers crossed for the Munster Championship that they can knuckle down, put in a couple of good weeks' work now, and be ready for the Munster semi-final when it comes around at the end of April.
Yeah, they're going to be playing either Clare or Cork, a team that will be coming off the back of a win. And for Limerick now, it's probably trying to build up some momentum, maybe in challenge games and in training. But how difficult is it to gather that momentum? Because we saw for the last 3 or 4 years, they just seem to be on a high and going up and up and up. So when you're faced with, that downward, like, how do you regroup?
Yeah, I suppose it's difficult now coming off of the back of a league campaign like what they've had. They kind of, I suppose, look, they may take a couple of days off this week to kind of regroup, gather their thoughts, and get back to training again, maybe this weekend or next week, whenever the case is. But I suppose, look, the first thing they have to do is just make sure that they're a united group, that they're going to put the head down, work hard together, stick together, and see where that takes them. That's all they can do, really. They have to take the learnings, I suppose, out of the last couple of weeks. There's been some very, very harsh learnings in it for them. But look, it's all about, I suppose, building their character. It's going to add to that. So I suppose in terms of that, yeah, that's really all they can do is just knuckle down, stick together, work hard for the next couple of weeks, concentrate on themselves, and be ready for the 22nd or 23rd of April, whenever it is.
And this group has shown, and you were part of it in 2019 with that win over Tipperary, that they can just pull it out of nowhere, and that'll be the hope, because they won't be given much of a chance against either Clare or Cork. But they have shown, this same group, that they can come from nowhere and put out a result like they did in Thurles in 19.
Yeah, look, and there's always the chance, there's always the opportunity, provided the team are together and they're working hard. And that's all that really matters is the lads that are inside the four walls of the dressing room and the management team with them. That if they're committed to it, then anything is possible.
Yeah, and I must ask you about Billy, because obviously you said you had a share of managers. Billy was the man you finished up with, and I suppose his role in helping Limerick to get from Division 4 up to Division 2, how important was Billy to the overall thing?
Yeah, like he was a magnificent manager for Limerick for the last number of years. He was not just a manager to the team, like he was almost like a father figure to lads. He knew when, I suppose, to put the arm around the shoulder of a lad, or when to tell a lad that he needs to drive on and work harder. A very good judge of character. But it was absolutely brilliant for the team. Had a great management team around him, built a great management team around him. I suppose it didn't just happen overnight. There was a lot of work put into it. He built that management team around him. He built the group of players around him. But I suppose the one thing I would say about him then as well is he always had Limerick football at heart. It was never about Billy Lee. It was never about any individual. It was all about building a team that was going to be able to sustain the competitions, and I suppose get the most out of lads, So that's kind of, he was brilliant at that, and I suppose he knew Limerick football, he knew the players, so he was absolutely brilliant man to be involved with.
Yeah, and you mentioned about people giving back. I suppose there's a group of players around the same time as you, maybe a bit before, the likes of Paranan and Andy Lane, Stephen Lavin, these lads that have Limerick football at heart and they're giving back. And you are starting to see the rewards at underage levels and slowly coming through.
Yeah, it's not easy. I know all those lads are involved in the academy. They're putting in magnificent work there. But that takes a while. And then I suppose you have to be able to transition that from the academy into adult level football. So that's probably also a challenge at the moment, that once the lads come through the academy, that they can then transition from that into adult level football. And that the resources and the supports are there for those lads to get them through and to be able to be ready to be able to compete at the highest level.
That transition there, I just Googled her name the other day just to see was there anything I missed, and I saw a story from Grode Hegarty about being in the gym, and it was one of his first times with you, and he said that you were benching, I think it was 25 reps for 3/4 your body weight, and he said that he was nowhere near it, and it was just an eye-opening that how difficult is it to go from under 20s as it is now into senior setup?
Yeah, like it's very, very difficult. Like you're going into a senior setup, you're coming up against lads that have maybe 4, 5, 6 years of inter-county experience under their belt, and 4, 5, 6 years of S&C conditioning under their belt. So they're going to be an awful lot further down the track in comparison to an under 20 lad coming into the squad for his first time. And that's not easy. Like you don't get into that. You don't get into that team straight away, unless you're exceptional, obviously. But like by and large, those lads have to they bide their time, put in the work, put in the S&C work, and be physically ready then to be able to compete at senior level.
And would you outbench Hegarty now, seeing as what he's done since then?
No, I think the roles have been reversed now somehow.
And just talking about Garrod, and there's obviously the likes of William Dunn that have represented Limerick underage. Is there a small what if, that if those lads had stuck with the big ball, and obviously it's very difficult for, a senior hurling and senior football team to go as it is, and Limerick are on the crest of wave in hurling, but is there a small tinge of, I wonder if them lads had stayed with the football?
Yeah, sure. Look, and like you can't but think that. Like, I think back to the Munster final last year, in Killarney, and you'd be thinking, what if we had Garrod? What if we had a couple more with him? Would it have made a difference? And I suppose it's on occasions like that you'd always think that if you had one or two more, if you had one or two extra, would it make the difference on the day? But yeah, of course you do. Of course you'd love to have the best players available to you going out on any given day. But that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, Matt, I'll throw it over to you there because I'm keen to hear about your take on Drum in the early noughties and their dominance.
Yeah, I suppose, Gareth, we all know what has happened since the breakthrough, but I'd go back a little bit further because I suppose it's widely accepted that there's a fantastic tradition of hurling in Drum Bradford, and like the success of the football team and in recent years has been a departure from what was the tradition in the club. It all changed in 1992 with a Junior B football championship county title. But I suppose in those early days, Garrett, there were a couple of people that were central to it. Dr. Sheehy in particular, as well as the now late, unfortunately, Liam Cairns.
Yeah, I suppose Dr. Sheehy at the time had the ambition, the drive, and the foresight to be able to see that there was potential within the club. He gathered some great people around him. Maurice McCarthy, I suppose, included into that group. And they put a team together. They started working with the group, and it all took off from there. It kind of spiraled from there, really. But those were kind of the key men in the whole thing. They started it off. They put in the organisation, they put in the work, and it kind of took off from there, Matt.
Yeah, and then in the late 90s, of course, it really gathered momentum. There was a junior championship in 98, an intermediate championship 12 months later, and then 2 years after that in 2001, which you were part of, the big one.
Yeah, I suppose there was an exceptional group of players there. Just happened to come together at the right time. But not alone were the players there. I suppose the structures were there to help and support them as well. And they took they took it to a different level at the time. And they got the reward for it.
And I suppose there are many standout performances. If you win 7 county titles in such a short space of time, in less than 15 years, there has to be many landmarks. But 2008 would have to stand out when you became the first club side from the county and the only club side from the county to date to win the Munster Championship. And not only that, but did it the hard way, beat Nemo Rangers, who are the specialists in it, in the first round.
Yeah, I suppose you got to remember, Matt, that the previous year we were beaten quite comprehensively by Ballylanders in the county final. So the following year, I suppose there was a big focus, a big drive to try and I suppose come back and give a better account of ourselves in the county championship, and that was kind of our primary goal. In 2008 was to get back to a county final, and to get back and try and win that. But I suppose we achieved that, thankfully. And we went on from there, and we happened to draw Nemo Rangers in the Munster semi-final. So, yeah, I remember in the lead up to the Nemo Rangers game, obviously we weren't looking beyond it or anything like that. But there was a serious belief within the squad at the time that we could actually go and do it.
Yeah, and then Kilmurray from Clare, who would be very, very experienced in the Munster Championship in the final. Like, you ground out two excellent results, albeit low scoring results, but two albeit, but and then of course in the All Ireland semi final you faced the informed team of the competition at that time, which was Crossmaglen.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did it the hard way for sure. There was after we had come across Kilmurray Bricken in the 2003 Munster Club Championship as well, I think, and we had probably a more high scoring game against them that day. They beat us by 3 or 4 points, I think, in the finish. But it was a much higher scoring game. But look, I suppose we tried to adapt the game plan that was going to suit us, that was going to give us the best chance of success. Albeit it wasn't too pretty to watch. But look, we're not too worried about that now, or we weren't back then either. It was all about getting the result and getting over the line. Didn't work out too well for us against Crossmaglen, but look, but it was brilliant to get the opportunity to play against them. I suppose they were one of the best club sides of all time, still are. But it was great to get the opportunity to experience playing against those at that time.
Yeah, Garrett, how much did relegation from senior ranks hurt? Was it 2021? Sorry, 2020.
Yeah, 2020 we lost the relegation final to Galtee Gales in Kilmallock. Yeah, that was very, very difficult. It was very difficult, having been senior since 2000, hadn't played in numerous semi-finals and finals to actually go down and get relegated that day. That was very, very tough to take. And I suppose it's only, and I was only thinking the other day, like it's something I wouldn't say you take for granted, but like you don't, I suppose, fully appreciate what it takes to compete at the highest level, be it inter-county or club, until it's actually taken away from you. And it's a long road back. It's a tough road back. There's a lot of work required to get back to where you were. I'm just looking at our own club situation at the moment and trying to get back to competing at senior championship level. That a lot of work has to go in to try and get back up to that again, but I suppose when you're there, you need to fully appreciate what it is and what it takes to get there.
It came very close to it in 2022, Garrett, to getting back.
Yeah, I suppose, and it's a regret that we didn't take our opportunity. It was definitely a game that we could have won, didn't win it. It was a tough year for the club, having lost the football final and then the hurling final a couple of days later. So yeah, look, that's been a tough one to take. But look, hopefully it can kind of galvanise lads and stand to them for the year ahead.
How difficult is it, and as somebody that's one of the leading dual players, how difficult is it to juggle between commitments to hurling and football? We know how difficult it is at inter-county level, but it's equally difficult at club level.
Yeah, it is, and I can't remember off the top of my head how many consecutive weekends we've had last year. But look, I say the one thing I would say about it was it was thoroughly enjoyable. Like, players want to be playing games. We games every weekend, and it was really, really enjoyable. Albeit we didn't get the reward at the end. But both management teams, hurling and football, have been brilliant. They've worked very, very well together. And they have kind of kept the players' welfare in mind at all times, So, and like the lads that have been involved with us in both hurling and football at the club, they're our own club lads. They know, I suppose, what they can look for from lads, and what to expect of lads, So they've managed that situation very well, and huge credit has to go to them for the way that they've organised the last number of weeks and months in the lead up to this championship. But also last year, that the way that they managed the players, and it was like, I suppose it's a testament to them as well that we had more or less 12 or 13 of the same players tugging out in both finals, and albeit bar a couple of niggly injuries, everybody was available for every game.
Yeah. Last question from me, Garrett, and it's on a totally different subject. 2023 has been a very, very special and memorable year for your school, Coloston and Trocla. Yeah,
fantastic. I suppose we're we're still enjoying the victory from the 16th of March. The lads were absolutely brilliant. I'm delighted for them. I'm delighted for the players, their families, their clubs, for the work that they've put in. But look, I suppose these things, not to overstate it, but that particular group of players last year struggled massively in championships. I don't think they won a game, Matt, to be honest. But this year, then they turned it around and they worked really hard. There's a couple of great leaders within the squad, pulled it together, and they got their reward.
That's it for me, Jack.
Yeah, I want to echo the congratulations to Cláiste na Trócaire and your school and the win. Just quickly before we finish up with you, Garrett, just back to Limerick again. And obviously, if they don't beat Clare or Cork, they're into the Tailteann Cup. And while this group of players, all they know is playing the senior championship, mightn't be the worst thing if, after losing or getting relegated in the league, just to get a bit of momentum, and the Tailteann Cup could provide an opportunity for that.
Yeah, Jack, I suppose, look, if you're talking about developing players and getting lads up to the required level, there's no better way to do it than playing games and playing competitive games. That's the one thing I found through my time involved is, like, you need to be playing matches, you need to be playing games. That's what players want. And I suppose the only way to do that is by getting competitive games. And that's what the next couple of weeks will provide for the lads. Hopefully they can get over Cork or Clare in a Munster semi-final and get back to a Munster final. That's what we all want. But look, after that, then, like, lads want to be playing games. They want to be playing games in a regular interval.
Yeah, and before we finish up, just a couple of quick fire questions. This can be club or county. If someone asked you your most memorable game, what would you point them out to?
I'd say the 2008 Munster Club semi-final against Limerick Rangers.
The semi-final.
Yeah.
Your favourite venues playing?
The Gaelic Grounds.
Club and county?
Yeah, I played in Thurles as well. Thurles is a nice pitch to play on. But I suppose growing up, you always wanted to play in the Gaelic Grounds. Yeah, I like the Gaelic Grounds.
The best player you played against, and I suppose you've your unique record that you played in the forwards and in the back. So, first of all, was it more difficult playing against people in the backs? You probably, if you made a mistake, it was probably more easily recognised.
Yeah, I think. I suppose the most difficult player I ever played against. I remember in 2007. Yeah, 2007. I think it was. We played Mayo in Castlebar, and I was playing half forward the same day. I was marking a lad called Patter Gardner. I think Patter had 3 points kicked in the first half, and that was the finish of me. I got called ashore at half time, so I'd say, yeah, he was probably the most difficult opponent I've ever come across. And in the backs, was there any particular forward then later on in your career that you thought, I don't want to be marking him again? Yeah, like, look, I suppose, and even more so in training, there's like, you come up against top class forwards. Like Danny Neville was always a man that was very, very difficult to tie down. Still is, he's electric. So yeah, a lad like him, that was very, very difficult to mark. And the best player you played with throughout the course of your career? Probably give us one for club and one for county. At club level, I would have to say Tom McLaughlin. He was just unbelievably consistent. He was always there, brilliant leader, fantastic attitude, just went about his business quietly, but very, very effective. I think you could count on one hand the number of games he missed for the club in my time involved. But yeah, he was exceptional. And for the county then? For the county, I'd say would be Johnny McCarthy. Johnny was, again, just an exceptional leader. He was so consistent. He was, again, just went about his business quietly. But like, anytime you went out against the team, Johnny was probably always the lad that was detailed to mark the top forward. And he just went about his business and always produced brilliant displays for Limerick. Lovely. Garrett, you've been very good with your time, very generous. We really appreciate that. And hopefully Cláiste na Trócaire continue to prosper in the school in both hurling and football, and maybe Drum will get over the line in the hurling and football this year after going so close. But thank you very much for joining us, Garrett, and I'm sure Matt echoes the same, and best of luck with 2023.
Thank you very much, Garrett, and the best of luck.
Thank you. No problem. Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Matt.
Talk to you in a while. Thank you.
Talk to you. Take care.
Oh, Matt, that was Garrett Noonan, a former Limerick footballer, current drum footballer and hurler, as he said, came so close last year with the club. Another brilliant guest.
Jack, absolutely. But the service, he's such a modest man. But the service that he has given to both club and county in football and to the club in hurling has been simply phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal, Jack. And 7 county senior medals. He's one of that rare breed, that great crew of drum players that came together. They were a fantastic team, and they raised the standard. They raised the benchmark. They set a new benchmark in Limerick club football. They left a huge reservoir of very happy memories after them. They were an excellent group of players, and Garrett was an integral part of it.
Yeah, they left a lot of good memories for the locals. They left a lot of bad memories for everyone else outside the county.
Everyone within the county that was trying to beat them, Jack.
Yeah, they were a bit like Limerick are now in the hurling, Kilkenny were in the hurling, Dublin football. They were just that a movable object. If you drew drum, you knew your year was more than likely up. And just I just came across a tweet from Jerome O'Connell. We all know who Jerome is. When Garrett Noonan, I suppose, retired from intercounty football, didn't come out with a statement, wasn't flashy. It just said, Garrett Noonan, not a part of the 2021 Limerick senior football panel. The Drum Broadford man first joined the panel in 2006 and gave incredible service across the last 15 years. Not one for headlines, but filled many a role during some tough years for Limerick. And I think it kind of summed up Garrett. Wasn't one for headlines. Did the job that was required. Was there for the good days and the bad days. And I know he's given back with the academy, like those players he mentioned. So his impact on Limerick football will be felt for a long time to come, please God.